Looks like we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Distilling 101. Hope everybody's feeling better than I am out there. I'm not feeling good today. I'll have to put that out there. Hopefully, we can make it the whole 2 hours until 10. I don't know. We'll see how far we can get. Not feeling real good this evening, but not bad like I was last Saturday. So, there's our notifications. All right, like always, we got to get these links out there and spread the word and spread the love. So, what's going on, Clint? Good to see you. Damn, it's loud here. Let me turn my volume down a little bit. Shh, it's loud. Very loud. Is my microphone real loud? It is on my headphones. I don't know. Maybe I had them turned up too much. I turn them up when I'm gaming so I can hear those footsteps. How you doing, Clint? Hope you're feeling good, bro. Never did get figure out. Did you get your car running? Let me get the link shared. Yeah, looks like we're still having to do the dance to get it done. But I don't know why it works that way, but I'm glad I figured out how to do it. Strange. I've had to hit something here. Oh well. At least we're able to share. There's that Facebook notification. Yeah, working for the militia page. That's good to see. I guess I'll have to post these kind of slowly. Maybe someone suggested I was posting them too quick. Maybe why Facebook limits me. So I'm going to put a little bit of time in between each one that I post. So we'll see if that helps a little bit. I would definitely like to be able to share more than the 10 or so I'm able to share at a time. I'd like to be able to just share them all out and be done with it. Let's see how many there are. Yeah, about 20 different groups I'd like to share it to, but I never can do all 20 ever. So we're going to put a little bit of time in between each of them, 8:04. So if I don't get them all done, I know a little bit after 9 I can share the rest of them out. So there's no way they can think it's a robot or a bot posting, because those mostly happen just kind of instantaneous, I would think. But some of the, let's see if this is possible. Let's see here. Let me look in. Let's see. Let me do it in my own group and see what. Okay, let's share's fine that way. Actually, I like the way that looks too. It's a little cleaner than what I'm doing, but I like it this way because I can keep track of the groups a little easier. So we'll keep going this route. We'll get them all shared, and then we'll start answering some questions. Hopefully, we got some new members and got quite a few last week, so hopefully they'll have some more questions. I remember we never did get closure on Jason while he was getting smearing throughout his run, so hopefully he's back and we can help him out. Get that settled. I also noticed O'Sheen was getting a lot of smearing throughout his run, running his infuser and Thumper. So hopefully he tunes in a little bit and we can chat about that. I think he's running into the same thing I did many years ago whenever you use a thumper without the bypass and stuff, and you get a lot of fours and heads going into your thumper. That's if you got a pretty good palate and you're making decent cuts, you can still taste it all the way through, and that's basically what the smearing is. And a bypass would help, but I think a lot of people, to be honest, I think a lot of people overuse the thumper. I don't think the thumper is a tool that should be used for every distillate all the time. It's a good tool to incorporate tails, and if you want to run some tails, it's good for a lot of uses, but it's not something that you want to use every time. Like if you've got a run that's you didn't get a good conversion on, it's pretty low, pretty low alcohol by volume, and you're not going to get a lot out of it. Putting a thumper on there will help get more out of it, and adding tails to it will get more production and higher proof. So, that can kind of help in that regard. But if you're not using it to infuse and you're just using it as a thumper doubler, I think it's way overused. I think they get used way too much. So also tonight, I want to reiterate what we were talking about last week about the new constitutional ruling. That does not mean that it is 100% legal for everybody to go out there and start running and doing it. Please don't take it wrong and say, oh, well, he said, no, I'm not saying it's legal. I'm not saying you can do it yet. I'm saying it's a step in the right direction. So I just want to clarify that. And I don't want people to, getting in trouble and say, well, he said it's perfectly legitimate and fine to run. Because I know that's the first thing will happen. They'll say, oh, Santa said it was okay to do. And I don't know if they just misunderstand what I say or they hear what they want to hear. I think it's what the case is. But either way, it's not 100% legal for us to run out and just start doing it. If you're in Missouri and it's already legal in your state, and now there's a federal ruling, it's probably going to be, you're going to be less likely there to get federal, problems. Less likely does not mean you won't. But because there's some kind of federal ruling now, I think it's going to be less likely because you're not going to have the state coming in and saying, well, we don't care what the federal thing says, it's still illegal in the state. So there's going to be some, issues between federal and state, even though it's something that we talked about being constitutional. There still has to be court cases to establish, that. So I'm not an attorney. Don't pretend to be one. Don't listen to any of the armchair attorneys online or on Facebook. If you want to know the law, consult a real attorney and get their opinion on it, because that's really the only person that you should be consulting on legal issues like that. So definitely don't come to Facebook for legal advice. Big mistake. There's a lot of mistakes, when people do that. So, but it definitely is a step in the right direction, and hopefully, that'll help get it legal to where most of us will be able to at least do our hobby in peace. For people that are wanting to, kind of do it as a hobby income, you're probably still going to run into some friction, but if you just want to, do it for personal consumption thing, it may make it a little bit easier for that, but still, keep your lip tight. Tight lips pretty much one of the best ways to avoid a lot of problems. People going out there talking a lot about it, bloating and gloating and kind of putting it, in the law's face. They're not gonna like that. Or challenging them. They're definitely not gonna like that. So you definitely want to kind of avoid putting them in a position. I'm not able to see the stream right now, so for those that are just coming in, I'm not going to be able to say howdy as you get in. until um, so just bear with me while I get these links out. So far, so good. Maybe going slower is better. We'll see. Right now is about the time it usually stops anyway, so we'll see if it's helped any or not. I definitely don't want to speed up now as I get towards the end, so I'll just have to try to keep my slow pace here. So far, so good. I think I'm a little bit further than I was last week, or I'm right where I was last week when it stopped. So uh, we'll see. Or Saturday, I should say. But I'm not feeling real good. Yeah, right now is where it stops. So that's about the same as it did. I don't think going slow helped any. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's go back here and say howdy to everybody. What's going on, Mr. May? Hello from Utah. What's going on in Utah? How's it going? What's going on, Scott? Good to see you, Mr. May. What's up, Thump? How are you? I'm glad you got it running good. Yeah, was it the car we were talking about, the Honda, I guess? Yeah. Well, we need to, maybe it would be a good idea to do that. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and do it this time, but next time I'll send you a list and you can just share those and I'll share these. I'll have to show you the special way to do it though and keep it tight lipped because I'm not sure that everybody has a workaround for that yet. But um, yeah, we'll do that next time. I'll give you a list of the different ones because you'll have to join a lot of these groups that I want to let you share to. So I'll send you a list after the podcast and you can join them and I'll have to make a little list for myself and that way we can do about 10 each and I think that'll work out real well. What's going on, Patty? Good to see you, brother. There's Lone Wolf and Moose. How's it going? Let's see here. Oh, okay. That's something else. All right. Got a little message here. I thought it was something. All right. First question. My question I hear people using tails for flavor, but I get a little tails in my liquor. It clouds it right up. Do you guys use tails for flavor? Tails generally contain a lot of oils, and oils cause it to be cloudy. I don't use a lot of tails in my liquor. A lot of people mix heads, tails, and hearts all together and combine them and just turn it out. And that's no. I mean, I'll use low heads right next to the hearts and high tails right next to the hearts for something I plan on aging. But as far as anything on beyond that, I just save it in a bucket and run it again. It goes into my next batch and it's easy to separate the ethanol from those tails, and there's a lot of ethanol in those tails. A lot of times tails will begin at 80, 90 proof in general, depending on how you run it. It can be higher or lower depending on your setup, of course, but generally speaking, 80, 90 proof. So that's 80-90 proof. That's the same strength that you buy in a bottle at the store. So there's a lot of good alcohol in there. It's a lot of alcohol. So and tails too, it's easy to separate from those oils and from the oily tails, and it's a lot easier to separate and maintain a good flavor than it is to separate it from the heads, because those heads is, as far as just immediate drinkability, it's you're going to get that acetone, that carryover a lot more. It's a lot harder to separate that than it is from like the tails. So for me, rerunning tails is easy. Heads, I don't rerun so much. I use those just for a lot of other stuff. I don't throw them away. I don't try not to waste anything. There's a lot of good uses for it. But I try not to run it again. I have in the past, and it's just, why run it again? Just have to take it out again, because it's hard to separate that bond. It's a lot stronger a bond between that and the bond in the tails. So I generally will keep the tails and just rerun it again. And when you do that, it's easy to separate that ethanol from the tails. So you're not going to really have that taste, carry over once you get that separation. But yeah, as far as just mixing straight tails with my alcohol, no, I don't. Yeah, they are. They're not tasting good either. Yeah. What's up, Gip? Let's see, brother. Yeah, now Sweetwater is way down in the tails. That's when you get down to like 20 proof, 10, 20 proof, then you start getting into some Sweetwaters. And when you get down that low, you're getting beyond a lot of oils, and you're getting pretty close to water. We've seen the curve. Let me show a picture of the curve and kind of talk a little bit about it here. Let's see. And this curve here. So we talk about this curve a lot, and you'll see once we get up here to about 210, when we get to about 10%. Now this is 10%. I'm talking about 10 proof. So you're talking about in the middle of that, right? About 5 for 10 proof. So at about 204 degrees, roughly, you're going to start running into pretty much mostly water, and that's where your sweet water is going to become pretty much above 10, I'm sorry, above 200 temperature wise, or just below 10 on this chart. 20, we're basically 10% is 20 proof. So then that's about the point where you're going to start running into some of your sweet waters. And basically, some of the sweet waters, depending on your distillate, will have a decent flavor. Generally not, but it's sweet because it still contains alcohol. It's mostly alcohol and water, and it's void of most of the oils that have already pretty much come off. So it's good for proofing with. Because it doesn't cloud so much. It's been distilled, and it also contains some alcohol. So you're proofing down with something that has alcohol, so you're getting a little bit more, a little bit more production wise. But not all distillates make good sweet waters to proof with. It's something you just got, and it's not always economically feasible to run that far down, especially if you're using gas, because it just it's going to take you a lot of gas to get to that point. And is it really going to be worth it for you? That's a financial decision that you'll have to make. And after you run through a complete bottle of gas to get there, is it worth that extra 10, 15 bucks and the rest out of the half of the gas can? I don't know. Probably not. If you're running on electric, maybe. But yeah, I always try to run those tails out anyway to save them and rerun. So it's just an economic decision that you'll have to make. Generally, if you're using electric, it's going to make A lot easier, more economically feasible. Yeah, it comes way after the tails. Yeah, it'll follow after your oils. After you get through all your oils and you're pretty much getting down to just alcohol and water. It's the bond is so great that it's an azeotrope, and that's why we can't fractionally distill out of a pot still, is because of that strong bond, and because the boiling points change so much based on all these azeotropes being combined together. So it really has a big impact on it, and it's really tough. It's a hydroxy bond to HO bond that's it's hard to break. What's going on, JJ? Good to see you, brother. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could boil corn and use that, as um, a lot of people say that's post flavoring if you mixed it, to proof down with something like that. A lot of people say it's post flavoring, and it probably would. And most people, it'd probably be a little cloudy, with the corn like that doing that, but I'm sure it tastes really good. That's why I just like using it in an infuser. Helps a lot. Yeah, you're tardy. You're not too late though. You're just a little bit tardy, and I'm a little bit behind too. So I'm about as far behind as you are right now. As a matter of fact, I was wondering, what's a simp? Who you call a simp? Oh, that's funny. There are a lot of simps out there these days, man. A lot of simps and a lot of, I don't know. The internet's made, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. It's giving a lot of people confidence. Let's just say that. I'll just give you a list and we'll do the same ones every time, brother. But yeah, I'll give it to you that way you can join up in some of them that you might not be in. What's up, Elvin? Can Thumpers be used with grain bags? Absolutely. Or is that just a mess versus nope? No, it's perfectly fine. In fact, um, I think North Georgia was experimenting with a steamer, and they were steaming into a second chamber that had on the grain, and so instead of just surrounding it, and I love experimentation and stuff, and I like a lot of the stuff that they're doing, man. The jacketed steels and a lot of stuff, and they took my bypass. I guess you all saw the thing they put out about the bypass, man. They took it to a whole new level, and they have some really fine looking setups. And they came out with a steamer that steams into a second pot that is on the grain, and using that as a method, so that's pretty interesting too. But yeah, absolutely. And even in your Vevers, if you look at the Vever, oh, GW is going to be mad. I damn it, there he is too. I'm sorry, GW. I'm just using this as an example now. Don't be a hater now. But I wanted to use this as an example of a false bottom, and there's a lot of them in copper steels as well. So this isn't. I'm not promoting it. I'm just showing false bottoms. But yeah, GW, he's. But here at the bottom, if you see that little ring right there at the bottom, there's basically a plate that sits inside there, and they can incorporate this. You can, get some coffee cups and sit inside a copper pot and do this the same thing if you have a large opening. But it's basically a big plate that's with holes in it, and it can sit down in there, and it's good for like double boilers or something like that. And it allows you to sit a brew bag in there without it touching the bottom. It keeps it up off the bottom, and anything that you can do like that'll keep your bag off the bottom, you can put that in your primary boiler. Now, what you want to do is make sure you sparge the grains real well for any fines. So you want to sparge all your finest stuff out, rinse it all out of, and you want it to strain it through some kind of screen or something like that. and keep all the fine stuff out. That way you don't have to worry about it dropping through and scorching, right? Getting through your bag and dropping through and getting on the bottom and accumulating and scorching. What's going on, fish skin? What's up, GW? Good to see you, brother. But yeah, having a false bottom like that helps, or anything in there, or you can suspend the bag and just let it kind of hang, just so anything to keep it off the bottom, because you don't want to get it where it's really hot down there. What is my favorite mod for the keg steels? Now, I like having, if you're going to use a thumper, love having the bypass. But for just the plain keg steels, I say my favorite mod is going to definitely be putting a ferrule in the lower third and using electric. Probably the best. Second would be, no, I have to go back on that. My favorite mod would probably be putting a large ferrule on the top so you can get inside and clean it pretty easily, because that was always my biggest hang up. I used keg steel for many, 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 many years. And my biggest issue with them was always it was tough to clean them out because you had such a little hole to clean them out through. So putting a 4 or 6 inch hole ferrule in the top and being able to get inside there and scrub and spray and keep it cleaned out, I would say that would be the first thing I would do to a keg. The second thing would be put a ferrule in the side, lower side, 2 inch ferrule in this lower side, lower third, to run an element, because that's going to be probably the most economical way to run a steel here coming. It's a little bit of an expense up front, but I had my early concerns about it scorching, and those have kind of been dispelled. A lot of people are doing it, running it, and they're not getting scorching. So I always thought that it just scorched the hell out of it. There's no way it's going to work, but I've been proven wrong. I think I'm not right about everything. I was definitely proven wrong about that. I thought for sure it's just scorched the shit out of everything it ever touched, and it has some, but if you do it right, it doesn't. And so I stand corrected, and that's why I'm looking at doing it myself now. Because if you can, that's definitely a lot less expensive than running the propane. Now, if you can hook it up to the gas in your house and do it safely, and effectively. Okay. Yeah, you can use heads to make it in your douchebag, and you can also get blamed for being stupid in here. So, bye bye. Scratch gains, yeah, they're fine. Absolutely, yeah. I've used call it birdseed bourbon. I did before I got some scratch grains and done that. I called it birdseed bourbon and experimented with it, but yeah, it works fine. But yeah, that would definitely be my favorite mods to the keg steel. Definitely be bigger fair on the top for easy clean, and that's the only thing I hated about it. Good deal. Good deal, brother. I would say that's all right. But if you have electric, I'd say that's fine, Clint. But I don't know if I'd want that. If you're using propane, flipping it, it's not going to work. But if you're using electric, yeah, flipping it and using the bottom for a drain would be great. I know a lot of people, like, in a lot of industries, they use them as yeast brinks. So that's another good use for it. Another good use for a keg is alcohol storage. It's a 15-gallon vessel that you can get for $35 that'll store. You can't buy glass that cheap, and it's hard to get another stainless steel container that's 15 gallons or 15 and a half, whatever. That's good, safe storage for, for your tails or whatever you want to store liquor in for the next run. A lot of people use plastic. Not so good, especially when you're doing all faints. If you got a lot of heads in there, you definitely don't want to use plastic to store heads in. We've talked about that before, with ethyl acetates and acetones and all those things in there. Ethanol is rated perfectly fine for high density polyethylene and low density polyethylene, but acetone and ethyl acetates and all those aren't. So those will break the plastic down. And if you're storing heads in plastic, you're going to get microplastics in there. And I'm not sure how well the distillation process removes those. So I'm not done that experiment. I've not got the scientific equipment to do that, but my guess is probably not well. So I wouldn't do it. It's just not. But kegs make a great storage vat too for keeping heads and all faints if you want to keep your heads and tails and run those again. I know a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just figure it's kind of redundant to keep removing those heads and maybe even run the risk of concentrating them so I don't fool with them. Thanks, sir. Good to see you, man. Here we go. Do you take a few days to proof down your alcohol? My rum usually takes 2 or 3 days. I do it quick. Yeah, absolutely. That is a very good method to do. Is definitely go slow and slowly incorporate it. Absolutely. And make sure that they're at the same temperature. So a lot of times people add cold water to a warm distillate, and that coldness can cause it to cloud as well too. That rapid change. So having them the same temperature. Also, I've noticed I'm not saying to do this. I probably shouldn't say anything, and I know somebody's going to start a fire in their microwave. But I noticed did a little experiment on a small amount. But I had some that got cloudy, and I've always heard that if you heat it up, I guess you could use a double boiler and kind of heat it up a little bit. That when you warm it up, the cloudiness will go away, and as it cools, it will sometimes come back. It does. It really works. Um, but yeah, taking some time to proof down, definitely the best route. Really good way to do it, and make sure they're the same temp. And using distilled water helps a lot too, and lower pH water. We've also talked about if you add like high pH water, if it's alkaline, it can actually create a situation where it will saponify with the oils and create like a soap, soapy, it looks like a snow globe. If you use real high, if you just like to use tap water or well water, and your well water has a high pH, you got a lot of limestone well water, and it's really high pH, real hard and alkaline. A lot of people, that's great for distilling and great for mashing in, but it's not so good for proofing down because of that high pH. And that high pH can cause mix that with the oils, and that's basically how you make soap, right? So, yeah, sometimes it's best not maybe proof or lower the pH of that water if it's like pH 8 or 9 or something really high pH and hard. Maybe sometimes lowering that down a little bit would be beneficial too. Yeah, distilled is probably the best. Freaks me out tonight. Usually it's on the weekend, but yeah, Beavis. Yeah, nice question. Next. People, man, I tell you, they had nothing better to do. But it's kind of funny, but I laugh. But nah, I get them when I get to them. I don't care. It's all right. We take care of them. I try to keep a little bit of eye on, and they suddenly that one did slip by me, but the other one I caught pretty quickly. But yeah, I will get them. But if they come in, and sometimes they get kind of crazy and start flooding and posting racial stuff, and yeah, we get them out of here. Yeah. Is it Clint? Yeah, we'll get him, brother. But yeah, the Real King strains are fine. I just saw today Real King's got a really good deal on honey. Big 5 gallon. I think might not have been 5 gallon. I was talking something bad about it, and let me see what the consensus was on that. There we go. Yeah, let's see. Rural King. Yeah, what you were talking about, Rural King? Yeah, Rural King. Yeah, they got, let me see how many else this is. It's 5 pounds of honey in a jug. Looks just like that. And daggone it. Man, the internet pisses me off so much sometimes, man. I swear to God, I just want to. Never does what you want it to do. All right, so there's that link. I was trying to find the price. It's like $3 a pound, which is a pretty good price. Yeah, $14.99. So it's $15 for 5 pounds. So that's basically $3 a pound. Real good price on honey. So those of you that want to make mead, that's guys talking about using it to make a honey shine. I will say, honey makes good shine, but you have to ask yourself, is it worth the expense? It's not like a blue agave and tequila. At $3 a pound, it's probably not so bad, but most places are charging like 5, 6, 7 a pound. And that's just way too much. But for making a mead, I think it tastes better as a mead than it does distilled. It makes a good distillate, but it's an awful expensive distillate. Personally, I just soon drink corn liquor. Nothing, Mike gave me some really good honey shine there, and it makes good shine if you're a beekeeper and you can get it. If you can get it, yeah, it's probably going to be economically feasible, and you can probably make some pretty decent shine that way. But for me, yeah. And also, I noticed in one of the groups. Now, I wasn't even going to comment because it's just this dude found some molasses that they use in the gardens for fertilizing. And wondering if it would be okay to use it. And right on the front, it says not for human or animal consumption. I don't know how much clearer that can get. No, I probably wouldn't want to use that. It's probably sulfured, but if it says it's not fit for human or animal consumption, then chances are it's probably not a good idea to use it. I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, it's probably sulfured. So if people thought about doing that, yeah, I wouldn't do it. It's a very low grade and it's definitely not good. I would not put that into something and try to drink it. No. Not just no, hell no. Yeah, you can make a sweet feed with it, and yeah, there's a lot of things you can use it for. My pot boy. Absolutely, and you can infuse just taking. One thing I like to do is just the corn, uh, cream corn and fresh corn. You can use either or both combination and put that in your infuser, and just re-infuse every quart. And man, you talk about good flavor and good corn flavor. Absolutely. But yeah, just sparge that mash out and get all the fines out of it and put that bag in there, and it'll definitely increase your flavor big time. Definitely, if you can distill on the grill, it definitely helps. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's stainless and glass are your two best containers for it. Just clean it out real well, and absolutely, stainless and glass are the way to go. Yeah, they don't cost as much, and they don't break near as easily. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And that ash is just pure, lime and high pH, and that's how you saponify some soap. Yep. JJ, you sound like you done that before. Like they make lye with a lot of that ash, that potash. There ain't no dumb questions, Skip. Water does have a pretty big impact on it. It is most your distillers will all agree that especially beer and wine, if with my beer and wine, yeah, absolutely more so with the wine than me because I'm not much of a beer maker and drinker. But with my wine, absolutely distilled. I use distilled water with that every time. I would not dream of using tap water to make wine. But when you're distilling, it's a little less critical. But most of the best say, starting with good product is definitely the way to go, and that's one less stress, and stress equals off flavors a lot of times, or different unique flavors, some would say. So it does have an impact. How much is pretty much going to be to the taster. Some people like me probably can't. I could taste it in a wine, but like if you were to do one with tap water and one with just pure water, run through a filter or something, and aged it in a barrel for 4 years, I don't think I'm going to be able to taste the difference. But some people probably can. Right, right. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Is it true the longer your coil, the better condensing will be? And so, well, I think there is a point that it's not going to be any more benefit if it's that much longer. I don't think you can have too much, but you can certainly have too little. But I think that you might get to the point where you're wasting money by having that 50 feet of coil when 30 or in that specific use would have been just as good or done the job just as good, well, and having that extra 10, 20 feet may not really condense anymore. You probably get more contact with copper, so that's never a bad thing. Uh, but yeah, there can be overkill where you just got too much. Um, but a lot of times, people will want to can tend to overkill it to start with, like you're talking about with an 8 gallon pot. I would say overkill it because chances are after you get bit by the hobby bug, you're gonna want to upgrade and you want to get a bigger steel and you're going to want to go from that 8 to a 15 gallon keg or maybe a 20 gallon pot or something like that, or an 18 and a half Viver or whatever. So if you do that, if you overkill that worm to start with, then it'll be perfectly fine for when you get move up to the next level. For everybody wanting to do it, I'd say you go out and buy the 5/8, unless you're going big, big, and wanting a really large steel. But that 5/8 coil, the stuff that's softer and already coiled up for you, go with that. Don't try to get sticks and fill it with sand and bend it and go through the laborious task. We don't need the copper to be that stiff. We don't have to deal with hammering like in a home. This isn't getting any pressure like a home does with 100 psi or so of 90 psi of water. We deal with about 3 to 5. So soft copper works perfectly well. So get that soft coiled copper. You can shape it and form it the way you want it, and that's going to be a perfectly decent worm for you. but I would definitely overkill it for the 8 gallon and kind of design it for a 20, 30, because that's about, the upper limits of the hobby. Some now I know there's a lot of people with 50-gallon hobby stills. That's fine. But generally speaking, unless you're obsessive compulsive like me, you'll probably be plenty happy with the 15 or 18, 20. And just go ahead and get you a worm that's ready for that. That way, no matter what you upgrade to, you'll be good to go. Yeah, there's a lot of different grades, and sulfured. Make sure it's unsulfured, and a lot of green molasses is not necessarily good either. A lot of times they pick it green and run it through, and just that low grade stuff isn't really good. That's why I don't like using sweet feed. If you want to try the sweet feed, make your own. Get a good molasses, a good cracked corn, and make your own. What's going on, Hellbilly? Good to see you, brother. Oh, for us viewers up in Wisconsin, heads up. Got some bad storms headed up that way. I was just watching the news before the show. It's the newscasters, everybody were going down the basement, so they had tornado warnings coming right at the weather station. So hopefully that they're all right. Also, prayers going out for Michelle Moose. I do remember, yeah, I just remembered that. Somebody mentioned that she wasn't doing well. They did uh, honored her husband, her late husband Paul, and did a little memorial for him. And on the way home, she fell ill. So keep her in your prayers, everybody. Yeah, when I mentioned those newscasts, putting them in your prayers, it reminded me to mention Michelle. Yeah, hope things are all right. When you first started, how much turned into solvent for the garage versus something you would serve for friends? When I started, we probably shouldn't have drank. I mean, I didn't know how to make cuts. We were young and dumb. We scorched the shit out of the corn, cooking it. Probably scorched it. Running it. Didn't make good cuts. Threw the first little bit out. We knew how to do that for the 4 shots, but it probably had a lot of heads in it, and it was horrible. But we drank it anyway. We mixed everything up together and drank it anyway. But for now, the heads and fours and heads, they are good for the garage. It's good for paint thinner. It's good for if you're a welder, it's good for cleaning metal, and cleaning things. If you're a plumber, it helps clean your pipes, before you solder or weld them together or glue them together, for PVC. So there's a lot of good use for it. I mean, we sat and one night brainstormed all the different uses for it. Weed killer, it's good for cleaning countertops. There's so many uses. Great for cleaning windows. I use it for cleaning my eyeglasses. There's just so many good uses for it. So don't throw them away. There's a lot of good uses for that high end alcohol. Perfume it up, proof it down a little bit, and make it easier on the skin. And mix it with a little perfume and put it in a bottle and give it to your wife. And put a little bit of her favorite perfume in there, unless it's expensive, then you might piss her off. But make her a little, fingernail polish remover out of it. She'll love it. But yeah, there's a lot of good uses. Sure are. There's a lot of good uses for it, twin. Yeah, yeah. It's not soapy like that. What happens is it's like a snow globe. So it causes some of the oils to precipitate out of solution and make little flakes. And a lot of people will get that and they'll be like, why is it all I getting all these flakes? And it's just a saponification of the oils. but I have seen snow globe moonshine. It's just funny. Yeah, we drank that scorched, horrible stuff, man. I remember that. It was horrible. But we learned. We learned the hard way. There was no books. I mean, this is back in the 70s, early 70s, and there was no books, no nothing, just apple wine. That's good stuff right there. So you gonna leave it as a wine, or you gonna distill it? I don't know. Sometimes a lot of my wines just get bottled up, man. I just can't. They're so good. I can't see distilling the flavor out of them because you lose a lot of flavor when you distill. I'm not gonna pretend that you don't. I agree. I agree, man. I've had a lot of mine that way. That might be where it's best, JJ. I tell you, if that little bit of sweetness to it, retain a little bit of that as a wine. Oh man, I'd put me a little potassium metabisulfate in there and sorbate and keep that sweetness and be done with it, brother. Right? I did a little experiment, and it takes like 22 pounds of apples to make a gallon of juice. That's a lot of money if you're buying apples. So you're gonna have to find somebody who's got an apple orchard or something you can get the ground apples from and fight the yellow jackets for it. But man, that's no way, and to buy, a gallon of apple juice, is cheap. But yeah, it is. It's not the same. Any advice on how to pull off a cherry blueberry wine? I want to do a split whiskey brandy, but a bit of a rookie. All right, well, cherry blueberry will be brandy. And are you going to mix it with some grain or just, um, again, if it's good as a wine, man, I love me some cherry wine. I've made some good cherry wine and I got some blueberry in there going. Um, it's awful good as a wine, but it's awful good as a brandy too if you can get that flavor to carry through. Using an infuser helps a lot. So if you've got an infuser like a 3-jar rig or something like that, you can get some good carry forward. It's tough too, I will say. If you don't, the distillation process removes a lot of flavor. So if you can get a brandy to carry over and you can tell what fruit it was made with, that's a pretty successful thing. Unless you're using infusion. Now, if you're using infusion, you can carry forward a lot more flavor, and it's good. The GW say he's going. I didn't see it. Am I not seeing? I'm seeing mostly YouTube. I'm not seeing a lot of Facebook. I saw Elvin was the last Facebook comment I saw, but I haven't seen. Did GW say he was leaving earlier? Maybe he said goodnight earlier. I don't know. What rise and shines? I'm missing it. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Um, so it's pretty tough. But as far as whiskey and brandy, so if you're usually when they call it a split, it's when you're doing some grains along with. the fruit. So if you plan on doing that with a fruit, that's fine, like a rye, or something like that. But like corn, I don't know. It's hard to. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is very hard to spend that kind of money for sure, JJ. Um, so you want to make sure that you get some flavors that aren't going to clash. And I just don't know how corn and cherry or corn and blueberry, to me, and just me personally, now this is all opinion. This has nothing to do with fact. This is just flavor, personal opinion. I don't think it sounds appealing. Whereas maybe a rye with a little pepper, with a little spice to, the blueberry or cherry, might be okay. That's why a lot of people do like an apple rye or a peach rye or something like that. It's because, it's getting, and rye, you got a lot in your name, but it's good to have that kind of spice. But where, corn, or maybe even a barley. I don't, it just, that doesn't kind of appeal to me. Now, maybe wheat to kind of sweeten it and give it a little grassy to go along with it, that might be okay. But for me, just corn, and, I've never understood the corn, and, maybe for some people, maybe corn and apple would be okay, maybe. But, I don't know, if I don't know. I just don't. I like corn alone, and I like the cherry alone, and the blueberry would be a great combo, and mulberry makes also a good combination to add to other berries and cherries to get a good blend and get a little more depth. But corn, I just some people just trying to push things too much, pushing the envelope of something new and different, which it will be, but sometimes. Uh, Oat, I can see an oat, to help softness and creaminess to go along with it, but just corn, I just can't see a corn and berry or a corn, I don't know. Maybe it's just, and again, it's just personal flavor and taste, and there's nothing fact about it. It's just how does it sound to you? What do you all think? What do you think? Cherry and corn would be a good combo. I don't know. Maybe something might appeal to some. Might be absolutely fantastic. Who knows? But yeah, the rye I think would be something that would add a good depth to it, make it kind of peppery. Cherry and peppery, would be good, and the cherry blueberry and rye would be a good combination because it just wouldn't clash like corn. I just don't see corn mixed with them. Wheat might be fine. Oat, of course, be fine, and rye. I think I can see, but I don't know, malt and corn. I don't know. Those two just, I don't know, might clash for me personally, but you know, try it and see. You never know. It might be a damn good, might be the best combo ever. You never know till you try it. But um, and it might be best just to make them and blend them outside, and there's a lot of blending going on where you just distill them each individually and then take different percentages of each to see which ratios are best. There's a lot of people, mixologists and blenders, that are, it's a craft in of itself. It's a whole new craft, just blending different things together to get a good unique blend. That's an art in itself. So maybe not mix them together and distilling them, or just distilling them individually and then mixing them afterwards might work well. No, be interesting way. That way you can get the right ratios. So certain ratios may be better, especially once you start going with something rye, with a rye where it can kind of overpower or get. So maybe get you a good rye whiskey, make you a good rye whiskey, and then make you a good cherry blueberry brandy, and then just balance, 20% rye whiskey to that, and gives it this, 30%, and just kind of toy with blending, because that's not cheating, a lot of people do it. Yeah, I do that a lot. I do that a lot. And it's kind of like cognac, and kind of like a retort, pour it back in and double distill it. Cool, cool. I agree, JJ. Yeah, yeah, it's the only way to do it, man. Get them from an orchard off the ground where it's just brown or, got a few little yellow jackets eating a hole into it or something like that. Perfectly fine for distilling. There's a lot of bruised apples that go to waste because they don't want to. But, we know that when we mash them in, it's basically a control drop from there on out anyway. So it's nothing for us. What's going on, Chris? Y'all get some storms up that way? Y'all have some tornadoes warnings up there. Yeah, I think it sounds good. I think rye, peppery rye would be a good combination with them. And that's why a lot of people use rye because it's not a it gives a good depth and good flavor in addition to something else where corn would probably just overpower it. Yeah, see, bright minds think alike, man. We were thinking about the same thing. I just scrolled down to that. Yeah, I think that would work out best and just blend and get your ratios that way. I've never tried it. I'll take your word for it. I've never tried malt and berries, but fruity beers. I'm not even gonna go there, man. There's so many things I could say about that. I'm not going to. Oh man, not going to. Like Bud Light used to be the king of beers, and after that, what's that? Muldaney guy became the fruit of beers. I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. Yeah, I guess all beers don't have hops. I guess you can. There's no rules. But I've never thought of barley and berries. That would be interesting, but I don't know. But wheat sounds like it'd be all right. It's good, sweet, grassy wheat with some berries might be interesting, and some rye. What's going on, Mash Brothers? Good to see you, man. Santa does not have a jar tonight. He is not drinking. He's barely on here. I might look all happy and jovial, but I'm not feeling good at all. I'll be honest with y'all. I've got I got an issue, and it's been around for a long time. But I get sick pretty much every time I eat, and certain things I eat, I get sicker. Sometimes it's not so bad, but uh, Ann's had a bad cold and coughing and for the last week, and I've been fighting it off. And I don't know. I think it's starting to creep in on me a little bit, but I got it's a IBS or the bowel syndrome thing that it seems like every time I eat something, I don't feel good. And tonight we had jambalaya, and it's quite spicy. It had some peppers in it, so I wasn't feeling too good after that. But I did take a tummy pill, so I'm a little better than I was. So I'm feeling some better. So I'm not drinking nothing tonight. I got taxes to do, a little bit work on taxes. I got to tonight after I get off here. I'm gonna work on them a little more, and then tomorrow I got to get them completed. And it's pain because I run a home office and all that. It's my home business, and so it's a little bit more involved, and I'm too damn tight to pay somebody to do it, so I have to do it myself. I mean, I ain't rich, so I have to do it myself. And nobody's, yeah, they are. They are. At least it's not, it can be worse. I've had chronic colitis, but at least it's not ulcerative colitis or, what's that other one my buddy had? Trying to think of what that was called. He had it real bad too. GERD, yeah. Yeah, they're up there. I'm trying to think of shit, man. My mind, I can't remember nothing anymore, man. Crohn's. Thank you. I didn't even get to see the answer. I typed it in, and as I was typing it, I got into my Crohn's. Yeah. Thank you, Elvin. Yeah. I didn't have that screen up. Yeah, Crohn's. So, it's not as bad as that, thank God. But it's similar, but not as bad as ulcerative colitis. I've had chronic colitis, and they took out my gallbladder, and a lot of times when I eat fats, I start feeling bad because I have to digest fats differently than I used to. But hello, Miss Tammy, how you doing? It's kind of reflux, yeah. GERD, yeah. But I'll be all right. It's something I've dealt with for years and years now, and you'd think I'd be skinny. It doesn't stop me from eating. I'll just deal with the fucking pain, right? Where I'm going to stop eating. Yeah, it don't hurt coming out as much as it does going in, man. That's a good thing. But yeah, you'd think I'd be skinny, as much as it hurts me to eat, but I don't let that stop me from over consuming. All right, it's a little after 9. Let's see if they're gonna let me share a few more of these links. Let's have a look. See. I'm glad I'm able to share them though without it messing up like it was. It's 9:09, so I should be past my hour. Yeah, let's see how many more it'll let me do. It usually won't let me add them all. I generally try to do the larger groups first. I'm not trying to, pick one group over the other. I just try to get it out there to the most people as I possibly can. So, not trying to discriminate against little groups, but most all these groups, everybody pretty much we're all in the same groups. We just like to have our own, and that's cool. I'm good with that. Definitely good with that. But some of these groups, I don't know. Some of them seem like they're moonshine groups, but they post anything but moonshine. They talk about all kinds of stuff and off-topic stuff, and it's like, well, is this a moonshine group or is this a tabloid group? Because it seems like they talk about a lot of tabloid type stuff in there. Getting into politics and everything else, and it's just see that in so many different places. I think it's kind of refreshing to have a place that doesn't do that. So we try to avoid that. Unless, of course, it's talking about the laws and the recent laws, and if they, if we got to certain party that supports us more than the other party as far as getting this legalized. But I don't think it's been a partisan issue, um, fortunately. So maybe we can, because one thing's for sure, we got a lot of drinkers on both sides of the aisle, right? So that's a good thing, man. We got drinkers on both sides, and neither side are going to knock that. I thought it was pretty cool that attorney saying, hopefully they can get inside their home, make their own shine, and he looked forward to sampling some of their craft. I thought that was pretty cool. Let's send that man a jar of our finest. What do you think? I was able to send them all out. That's good. Last week it didn't let me send them all out, so a little bit better. We're getting there, baby steps, but yeah, it's improving. Thank goodness. So somebody posted in the militia page, you got some barrels. I don't know if y'all saw that, and if you notice, it was the two small lids on top of the big barrel, and some people were talking about cutting it on the side. I can speak from a little bit of experience. You definitely, unless you're going to try to. Now, somebody had a little video out a while back about how the lid kind of caves in and then comes back out, and if you cut it right in the middle of that little bend, that you can make it to where you can put the lid back on and use it as a lid, which is fine if you're going to use it as a garbage can. But if you're going to put liquids in it, you definitely want to cut the top out and leave that rim for rigidity. Made that mistake years and years ago when I wanted to do a rain barrel, and just for water, used for water for cooling, and cut the whole lid, rim, and all off. And the barrel wanted to just flatten and go long ways. When it got real full, the sides bent down and it kind of collapsed. Not down in itself, but it made an oblong, right? So cut the top out and leave that rim, and it keeps it rigid. And you know, but yeah, free barrels are the best barrels for sure. The egg burps, yeah, man. But yeah, we had that jambalaya, and I had some pretty spicy peppers in there, and shrimp, and some good, what is that, sausage in there, kielbasa sausage, and so that's a smoked sausage. It wasn't a kielbasa, it was smoked, but good stuff. But it was spicy. Well, I don't think it's either side of the aisle. I think it's their donors that don't want it legalized, right? So there's a big industry out there, that we're up against. The alcohol industry is massive. It's multi-billion-dollar industry. So, anytime we're, going up against that, I don't think it's a tax problem as much now as it used to be, but now it's a monetary issue for a lot of their contributors. So, and they contribute to both sides, and there's no, but 80 grit. Yeah. You must be tough. Wipe your ass with that. Yeah, they make some good up there in Pennsylvania and in the north, Wisconsin. They got good cheese and yeah, good sausage up there too. Yeah, to keep them out there, won't it? Yeah, I like Smoked sausage, kielbasa. I like kielbasa with kraut the best. I like it. We had kraut. I love kraut. Kielbasa and kraut. I was talking about kraut to somebody the other day, and they didn't even know what the hell I was talking about, man. I'm like, man, you screaming city when you say that kind of stuff. You never eaten sauerkraut before. Crazy. Most people spell it sour, S-O-U-R. And I think it's S-A-E-U-R or something like that. It's spelled a little bit differently. Most people think it's sauerkraut, S-O-U-R. But yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully, I don't know. I would have never guessed marijuana being legal like it is in most places, or in a lot of places, especially recreational. So, um, yeah. So that's definitely good. Sauerkraut. Believe it or not, Sauer. Because I spelled it wrong too, and it had the red on it, and I had to look it up because I don't think I put the E in it either. Is the German with the E, Sauer? That's why I've always seen it. Well, hopefully we can get it through. I think that I just don't know. I do think there's going to be a lot of big distilleries, and Brown and Foreman and a lot of different distilleries are going to be, paying some bucks to get it. Mine did. I was talking to him in the other day, and they grew up in Michigan, but in the city, and just recently moved out to Arizona. And we were talking, and I was talking about, when Ann made some sauerkraut, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "You've never eaten sauerkraut?" And they're like, "No." That's crazy. But yeah, I guess not everybody grew up on cornbread and sauerkraut. Yeah, there you go. Sauerkraut. Yeah. Now, is that how the Germans spell it too, JJ? That's exactly right. And they found that they couldn't patent it, so you know, no biggie. It's not something that they could profit from anyway. So yeah, yeah. The liquor industry will definitely try to put a stop to it. You're seeing warehouse fires for insurance purposes because the industry is in decline. Um, we've noticed, I've posted several times in the past few months about different big distilleries slowing down and shutting one line off for a certain whiskey that they were making or bourbon that they were making, cutting back, and they were going to retool and make some changes. And everybody's, oh no, 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 it has nothing to do with that. They were just planning on doing that anyway. And I'm like, no, they're doing it because it's a good economic decision, and they're not going to just come out and post, oh, we made too much bourbon. In the last 10, 15 years since it's been so popular. It was definitely becoming more and more popular, but with this new generation, we're on the downhill. And so they've got an oversupply of it. And I've also noticed for for the collectors out there. That that some of these collector bottles have starting to peak a little bit, and reaching a plateau, and some of them are losing a little value. So for those that are into collecting, it's kind of like the stock market. It might be a good time to divest in a lot of those more expensive bottles if you don't, I don't know. Who knows what the future is, but just saying the younger people, they're not caring about bourbon so much. The ones that are drinking is on the down, and it probably has to do somewhat with marijuana becoming recreationally legal, and maybe more smoking and doing their little vaping and gummies and mushroom gummies and everything else that they're doing these days, and less drinking. And the ones that are drinking something different. They don't mind post flavored. They don't mind, a can of vodka and fruit juice pre-mixed and in a can, just like a beer. And, they don't necessarily have to go to a bar and have it all professionally shaken, and all that. They don't care about all that, and so, um, yeah, there is a surplus right now. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, Clint, my ex, her mom and her grandma made some of the best damn kraut ever was, man. I loved it. They made really good kraut. But yeah, you use that, I guess, special salt, not just regular salt. I guess it's pickling salt. And I think they had some kind of other thing they added to it, Clint. I can't remember what it was, but I'm gonna pull it up and see. Sea salt, yeah. Some use sea salt. I'm thinking 3 to 6 weeks. Salt, non-iodized salt, sea salt, or canning salt. A canning salt, I think, probably what they use. Caraway seeds. Yeah. Cooking the cabbage. Have you had kilt lettuce and kilt cabbage cooked up in bacon grease? My grandmother used to do that. It was really good too. But yeah, I love me some kraut. And my ex's mom and granny made some really good kraut. They canned up some kraut. It was really good. Kimchi. Yeah, there you go. Wow, that's crazy, man. Kosher salt. Yeah, I don't hold Amazon responsible for what, a employee does, or, I don't think that necessarily speaks for the company as a whole. But yeah, that's horrible, man. Maybe you didn't want to get sued or something. I don't know. It's sad that people do that, and it's like you're in the city and there's a crime going on, and most of us country boys see something like that going on, we'd step in, right, and do something. In the city, what do? They turn on their cameras, want to record it, not help, but capture it so they can share it to their friends. You know, how do you live with yourself posting and sharing? I mean, I guess it's good to kind of document it to get those involved, and get some video evidence, perhaps, if you're afraid to get involved. But personally, man, I see something going on like that, I get involved. Sometimes I probably shouldn't. A few years ago, I was in traffic and I saw a dude jump out of a car and walk up to the car in front of him, some girl, and was stomping on her door, and I guess I figured it was road rage, man. I jumped out on the dude, and I ran him back to his car. I was gonna beat the shit out of him, I don't know. It could have been domestic dispute or whatever, but I was like, man, I ain't gonna sit around and watch some dude do that to some girl. She's scared to death, man. He's lucky I didn't get my hands on him, but he hightailed it back to his car real quick. Yep. Right. Well, but that doesn't mean that they can't sue you. You might lose in court, but they can still try to sue you. And, it's how many times we see it. Somebody goes into a house and breaks into a house, and the 90-some-year-old veteran shoots them, and the family sues him because he used excessive force. That happens all the time. It shouldn't ever be allowed to even be brought to court, but yet it ends up in court anyway. And it's like, why is this even in the courtroom, man? Why is the DA trying to bring that? Why? Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's people don't care, in the cities like that, like they do in the country. In the country, man, we do something about it, and at least I think most would. I don't know, this day and time, maybe not, but yeah. Some people say, "Oh, I'm afraid to get involved." Well, that's why we have a Second Amendment as well. So there needs to be more intervention. Need to exercise that Second Amendment more often. They say they don't talk about all the lives that are saved with guns. They talk about all the lives that are taken with them, but there's 1,000 times more that are saved by just the threat of using one than are taken by one, other than, of course, suicide. But they don't like separating that stat out either. So but yeah, it's sad to see, this day and time. There's lots of bad things going on, and you see 15, 20 people standing around filming it with their cameras, and able-bodied men. And I don't know, maybe if we had better concealed carry laws in all these places, they'd be able to intervene. But I'll tell you, I do, and I will. So it probably wouldn't be a good idea to commit that kind of graven crime in front of me, because I damn sure would use it. That's right, especially in your own home, man. These kids were breaking into the home, and some of them were 16, 17, 18. Some of them were, underage, and I don't care at what age they are. If they kick in my door and they got guns, these kids had guns in their hands too. This isn't just, you know, some people just breaking in and just stealing. They had literally had guns, and he shot them. And there's actually exchange of fire, and they still brought suit, tried to sue this man for excessive force. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, you gotta you know gotta be able to. I can't believe that the DA actually even brought that. Yeah, yeah, we've. I think there's some things going through the Supreme Court right now about constitutional carry. So I don't know if they're going to force all states to be able to constitutionally carry like what we have in our state and a lot of other states, especially in the South. We've got what's called constitutional carry. You can carry it open, concealed. You don't have to have a permit. You have a constitutional right to carry it as long as not I guess mental case. I guess they take your gun rights away if you're a mental case, or if you felon, of course, and some other issues that can take it away. But yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. Things may have gotten so bad where they had to. I don't know, but you know, when it gets to the point where the only people that have guns are the criminals, then that's going to be a pretty sad situation for those that want to defend themselves. Because criminals, they don't care about that gun law that they're breaking when they're killing people and capital crimes and robbing and doing all these other things. That gun charge is just a small charge compared to the crimes they're committing. So I don't think gun laws really deter a lot of crime. I think it takes guns away from law-abiding citizens. Calisthenics. What the hell is that? You talking about exercise? You talking about exercising? Where did they? Yeah, too. It's strange, that they've. If you use marijuana, you kind of tend to lose your gun rights. So it's on the California's ban. Okay, I thought it's calisthenics. I was really thinking deep, and I was like, man, they're banning exercising or what the hell, man? I didn't know you. All right, I feel better now. I was like, damn, JJ, you going pretty deep, man. Where are we going next for this? Calisthenics, man, racist. I don't know, man. I was had me pondering. I was like, damn, we talking about the same calisthenics? That's exercising, right? Had me Googling it, making sure I'm thinking the same thing. Damn you. Yeah. Yeah, it probably was. I think any gun ban, uh, I mean, there's certain things that are socioeconomic bans. So basically, probably shouldn't really be talking about guns a lot here on Facebook and YouTube. They don't really like it. YouTube not so much, but Facebook they really frown on it. We shouldn't probably. Guess we have First Amendment to talk about it, but really kind of off topic. But as far as machine guns, people say, "Oh, it's against a lot of own a machine gun." It's not. It never has been. It's expensive to own a machine gun. You have to have a tax stamp, and they banned the sale or the making of new machine guns. And so you have to have a pre-banned gun, and that means all the existing machine guns are tens of thousands, if not $20,000. Like if you want to buy a full auto MP5 legally, it's going to cost you probably 20 grand, 30 grand just to get the gun. So that's it's an economic ban. So only wealthy people can do that. Is that right? I mean, I don't know if it was just blacks. I'd say it was just maybe the opposition. So when you're corrupt and you're worried about your citizenry, then you definitely want to take their guns away, right? And that's kind of what we're going through now. A lot of people want to take our guns away because they want to fundamentally change the way our government is and the way we govern and the way America is. So before we can take away a sovereign country, you got to take away the guns, and that's their first step to disarm us. Yeah, you can own a cannon, you can buy a tank, hell, you can buy a fighter jet if you got the money. Yeah, anybody can, Clint, if you want to pay the money. Yeah, you can get fully automatic. You just have to go through the background checks and pay the money. But I mean, fully automatic rifles or sears are very, 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 very expensive. Now, suppressors and short barreled rifles, that's nothing. That's easy to do legally. Even right now, they've taken the tax away. So it's just a waiting period now to get a suppressor and a SBR. That's nothing. Used to it was $250 for each tax stamp. Now it's basically you just have to fill out the form. You have to register it with your local police department and get permission and all that stuff. But um, yeah, those were different times, JJ. There was tumultuous times, and there was a lot of crazy stuff going on back then. But yeah, I agree. It's probably a racist thing. Well, you can own a nuke. It just depends on who you are. You, yeah, yeah. With those cams, with the new setup, the way the NSA is doing things, man, they got cameras. They're listening and watching everything now. They even all these ring cams are on everybody's houses. That's all tied into the NSA network. All these, what they call them, the traffic cams that are up everywhere. I don't know, the ghost cams or whatever they call them. Those are up everywhere. We were just talking about that in a discussion the other day. Let me find out what they call those. I'd never heard of the term that they were using, so I looked it up and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that." Yeah, we were having pretty good little lively discussion, which I don't mind getting in discussions, in Facebook groups or with friends that are posting on their page. I'll happily get political on that, but I don't like doing it on the podcast. I like to keep it pretty much on topic, but talking about 2A, we started with the legals and the constitutionality of alcohol. So, but yeah, we should probably stick to that. Yeah, everything. Yeah, I mean this. Fortunately, this microphone I can hit the and turn it back on and kind of. But a lot of the microphones and stuff you can't mute. I know that webcam right there has a microphone that I can disable, but our phones are listening to us all the time. That's our TV. We got a lot of things that are listening to us all the time. That's why when I say, ask Siri question, she pops up because she can hear me asking her, mentioning her name and all of that stuff. So yeah, they definitely listening. Yeah, yeah. I was listening to something else earlier. They was talking about the past corruption and present and past corruptions and what's going on. It's a lot of things going on, man. But this is my escape from it. So it's not bringing in. I don't want to talk about here. It's make this a safe haven where we can all come and talk about something we all have in common. And because a lot of us don't have political views in common. Some of us think quite differently, and I think that's awesome. Everybody should definitely be able to think and vote and do as they please. It's just the problem is these days most people can't have conversations about it without getting butt hurt and getting taken things personally. And that's where it becomes a problem is they get fired up and they get mad and they get offended, and it's just an opinion. And what happened to the old days when we could differ in our opinion and sit and laugh and drink a beer and go play a game of pool afterwards and not hold a grudge. Nowadays it's either you agree with me or I'm unfriending you on Facebook and you got to follow what I agree with. And how can you not agree with me? You're an idiot if you don't, and it's like, man, they get all fired up crazy. And it's like, man, just agree, disagree, and go on and be friends and be happy. But too much, man. They've got everybody worked up to a frenzy, and that's exactly what they want to do. So you're playing right into their hands when you allow that to happen. It's just a question. All right, good deal. What's the difference between mead and wine? Someone said wine is mead too. I'm confused. Well, mead is generally a honey made with honey, whereas wine is made with fruits. I think that would be pretty much the distinguishing difference. But yeah, all meads are wine, but not all wines are meads. Yeah. A mead is basically instead of a fruit based wine, it's a honey based wine and follows the distinguished name of mead. Ambrosia, there you go, man. But what are your all thoughts on it? I think honey is best left as a mead. I don't know. It makes good shine. I've got Mike's honey shine down there, and it's definitely esterified over the month or so or two that I've had it, and it's definitely better. But is it worth the expense? And I know we definitely got started talking about this, and I did show you a picture of it, but this is a really good deal. It's like $3 for a pound at Rural King. That was about the best deal. Let's see if I can find that again. Why is it going to there? Let's see. But Rural King had it, and it was $15, $14.99 for a 5-pound container. Now it's got 3 stars. Let's read the reviews on it and see what people didn't like about it. 3 stars ain't real good. Clover honey, mild flavor. Don't buy this garbage from India. Imported honey. You don't know what's in it. Okay, so we got both ends of the spectrum there. Man, people either love it or hate it. Most people like it, but you got a few that are saying it's got metal. It contains metal. This honey direct from container sets off sparks when put in the microwave to heat. Also sparks after putting any baked cooked item used to replace sugar in the microwave. Interesting. Well, that would be something I definitely want to test. All this other stuff. This is saying this is as close to honey as a quarter pounder is to a health food. Okay. Don't buy this garbage from India. No regulation on import. Don't know what it was made from. Pure, yeah, right. Buy local honey. Well, I would if I get local honey for $3 a pound. It is from India, so I don't know. If I was distilling it, it'd probably be better in a mead and distilled than on a biscuit, maybe. I don't know. What do y'all think? $4.20, is it? Actually, that was just I found something even cheaper, but you had to buy buckets then. This is just five gallon jug. But I found buckets where it's $2 a pound and 2.25, something like that, a pound. But yeah, it was, big buckets. And this was in a 5 pound jug. So it's like a gallon jug. Now the 5 gallon, that's probably 25 pounds, was quite, a little bit cheaper. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think it'd be best as a mead instead of distilling it. I think kind of like the wine. Maybe with this stuff, it might be better just to go ahead and distill it, and it might be the best way to handle the cheap stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty cheap, pretty inexpensive, cheaper than Timu. Yeah, Timu, it's $19 for the same. Well, it's a different source. I don't know. It's probably from China on it. Open a new tab. Let's see what this Timu honey. You know that Timu honey's gonna be good. I can't tell if it says where it's coming from. Product of Vietnam. Vietnamese honey. 5 pounds. Timu honey. Now here's a 60 pound. Yeah, that's what it was in the bucket. 60 pounds for $2.25. That's $3.75. So that's more expensive than. But yeah, I found it for $2 somewhere. Yeah, if you have your own, raise your own, that's probably going to be the best way to do it. Here's a 60 pound. Yeah, that's pretty good price. 36 for a 60 pound. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good price right there. Pure wildflower honey, 60-pound bulk. Yeah, kosher, gluten free. Yeah, of course it is. Just, why would it have gluten? Let's see where this is coming from. From Pennsylvania. So that's a damn good deal. Hell, this is on eBay. 60-pound bulk pail. And it's a big old 5-gallon bucket full. So I guess a 5-gallon bucket full, or well, probably even bigger than that. Might be a 10-gallon bucket or so, but 60 gallons in that bucket. Or I'm sorry, 60 pounds in that bucket. Let's see what the volume is. Let's see. Yeah, I can't see what the volume is of that bucket. But it's 60 pounds regardless for $36. So if it's 30, that would be $2. So it's just slightly more than $2 a pound. Yeah, it's a pretty good price. I only have one left. Yeah, that's a damn good price. Yeah, there's got to be something wrong, man. There ain't no way. No way. That's probably for the 5 pound. Yeah, I'd say there's no way in hell that it's that cheap. Yeah, that's £5. They're trying to make it switch. Pure wildfire honey, 60-pound bulk, and then below it says size 5 pounds. But in the description it says 60. You got to watch out for eBay. A lot of that stuff does that. Timu does too. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Because they'll say it was said right there, 5 pounds. And sure enough, right below it sure does. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the best thing to do with your yeast, though, to grow your own or to just propagate and save what you bought. And I definitely would probably try to just buy some and maybe acclimate it more towards what I was using it for and perpetuate that and try to keep it alive is to try to go out and find a wild and try to tame it or convert it and spend the time of acclimating it. Yeah, if it sucks, definitely go to the pot. Same with my wines. Anything comes out bad, yeah, there's no way it was. But I did see something that was $2 a pound, a little over $2 a pound, and that's about as cheap as you gonna get it. Quebec. Hmm. I've heard that Lalvin D47 works real well too with meads and gives it good florals. You ain't no shadow in the house. I didn't see anything. Did you see shadow come in? What's going on, brother? Yeah, Websterant. Yeah, Websterant had a good deal, but this wasn't from Websterant. It was from something maybe something depot, maybe Restaurant Depot. It could be. Yeah, you got me back on here again. Damn it. Let me see where I saw that. Yeah, Websterant has 60 pounds for $186. That's about 310 a pound. There's somebody had it cheaper. It's two something, but that didn't include any kind of shipping or anything like that. So, and it wasn't a big, huge. But I think that Tractor Supply is pretty good if it's decent honey. I don't know. Some people saying that India honey ain't the best. But here's some from Walmart, pure and simple, 5 pounds for 17.97. So that's just a little over $3 a pound, and maybe three and a quarter. 3.25 times 5, 16.25. So a little bit more than three and a quarter. Let's just say 340. I'll just do the math here. Let's just say 18. Yeah, it's 360. So that's not too bad. But yeah, one of them was like a couple of bucks, and that's pretty cheap. So how's that coming along, brother? Is it? Awesome. Hometown honey, 189. For how much? 60 pounds. That's about three. Yeah. 3 times 6 is 180. It's a little over three. That seems about, but this one place had it for $2.25 or something a pound. That was the cheapest I saw. Most of them were 3 plus. But I thought that was a pretty good deal at Walmart and at Tractor Supply for 3 and change for just 5 pounds and not having to buy, a 60-pound bucket. £60, yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, it's a little over three. Not bad at all. Yeah, I've never, it's just expensive. I've made meads before. I've never distilled the honey though. I've always kept it as mead, and I didn't do a lot of meads. Kind of just experimenting, but I just think it'd be like I've never bought the blue agave and done tequila either because it was just cost prohibitive. I've never done tequila because I've never seen a good enough deal on blue agave. It's like, I enjoy tequila, and if I want to drink it, I'll get Jeff to make me some, or he's supposed to be sending me some. What the hell? Or I just, go to the store and buy it. But that blue agave is expensive, expensive, expensive. And, to try to make it and make it yourself, it's cheaper just to buy it at the store. Crazy. It's expensive. But if you have a big field of, plants, it's not so bad. Or if you have a few beehives, it's not so bad. But yeah, I've never distilled any honey. I made mead. And I've never done tequila. It's just too cost prohibitive. Somebody got some blue agave they'd like to give me, and I'll be happy to take it. But as far as, having $300 in a mash that's going to make me a couple of gallons, I'll pass. I'll just go drink tequila. I don't drink that much tequila like I used to anyway, but Jeff makes them really good. He was supposed to send me some. I ain't seen it yet. I need to get up to him. That man makes some of the best tequila. I used to be a big tequila drinker, and he makes some of the best tequila I've ever put my lips to, man. It's ages it in barrels. Man, it's good gold. Good tequila. I don't think you can buy any at the store any better. And I've tried a lot of different things he's made, but man, I tell you what, man makes some of the best tequila I've ever drank. Yeah, I think they're talking now that sometimes it's best to do that way. And step feed your yeast as well, with nutrients, because honey it's not gonna have the yin and fan you need. So you're gonna have to give it some nutrients. And they say step feeding is the best way to go as well. And there you go. That's the plan. I was gonna do, keep some hives, but I found out how much work was involved. And I went, well, damn, that sounds like a lot of work. I just soon buy it. I thought you just put the damn beehives out there, put the racks out, go buy you some bees, put the queen in there, and then just wait, just sit around and wait. But Hell, I've heard you have to go out and check on them and do a lot of stuff and rack and a lot of maintenance and check for mites and insulate and do, there's a lot of things you got to do. I'm like, damn, that sounds like a lot of work. The more I learned about it, the more I'm like, I'll just buy honey. Yeah, that'll you be sharing your recipe, and then you can have free mead maybe the rest of your life. Just go drink with him. Just teach a beekeeper how to make mead and drink for free. Won't even have to make the mead anymore. They can make the honey in the mead. Then maybe we can teach him to distill it. Yeah, I'd probably use the dead yeast hulls. Probably one of the best, and step feed it. Yeah, they're finding out that you definitely don't want to overfeed. That's definitely as bad or can be worse as underfeeding, especially if you're using DAP. But yeah, the dead yeast hulls is definitely one of the best nutrients they found, and it doesn't create a lot of stress, and it's good to step feed a little bits at a time and not throw it all in at once like we used to and give it a big rush of food all at once to slowly feed it over time, especially on things that take a little longer to ferment, like wines and meads, as opposed to with your grains, it's probably not going to be that great of an idea, especially if you got malts. You won't need grain. You're not going to really need much nutrients in a grain anyway. But um, yeah, I'd say knowing, and it's pretty interesting how each different thing that you ferment to will have a different need for nutrients. Some of it will have some nutrients, some yan and fan, but not much. Some will have zero. Some will have a moderate amount. So knowing that as well and knowing how much to feed without overfeeding is important too. So it's become a science in of itself. Yeah, I just had some honey not long ago and some because Anne's sick. I'm making toddies, a little honey and hot tea, a little shine in there. All right, y'all. It's 10 o'clock and I'm not feeling well. And I'm going to have to go check on Ann and see how she's doing. Single honey cow. Yeah, you need to. So how many hives you got now, Clint? Now, I don't know a lot about honey. Don't know a lot about it. Beehive made from a barrel. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, there's Mr. Morgan. What's up, brother? Good to see you, Mr. Shadow. Yeah, you showed right up at 10 right when I'm about to get off here. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. They were talking about something made just from barrels. I guess they just let it naturally. It may be something different. I didn't read into it much, but it was just something that they naturally just build a hive in, like they do inside some of the walls and houses. Have you ever seen where honeybees get in a house in between the walls and build it, and they start taking out this drywall and find this huge amounts of honeycomb behind their wall? That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Yeah, we gotta go take care of Mama Santa. Make sure she's feeling better. I hear back here now. She knows we're talking about her. All right, y'all. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, I'll feel better Saturday. I'm not going to try to eat early in the afternoons, what I try to do, but I didn't eat till about 6:30, 6:45, and that doesn't really give me a lot of time to start feeling better. I am feeling some better now, though, but I'm still, my throat's itching. Dan's been coughing about a week now, um, so hopefully we'll get her to feeling better. But everybody have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. We had a lot of newbie questions, but we got a few. So if you see a lot of people in some of the groups that you're in, and it reminds me, Clint, I will share. Well, I'll give me till Wednesday. After Wednesday, when I'm after tomorrow, when my taxes are done, I'll be able to focus on other things. But until then, I got to pretty much be laser focused. I got 24 hours to get these things done. Um, but if you know any friends and you see a lot of in these groups and stuff, they're asking a lot of questions and they're not really getting decent answers and stuff. You know, send them a message. You know, kind of put the word out without posting it all over their page. I'm not wanting to poach people or anything like that, but I would like to get as many newbies as we can here and try to help them out and get them a good foundation. You know, see a lot of trolls out there. You know, I saw one really bad comment today. I'm not going to repeat it or say anything, but it was horrible. You know, talking about some 12-fingered retards, or I can't even remember what the comment was. It was horrible, mean spirited as ever. You know, and it's like, why they even allow that kind of comment in their group? I don't know, but I damn sure wouldn't. So I don't know. But maybe send them a message, tell them jump on here and they can kind of hang out with us, get a good answer, and chat with us, have a shot, and okay. Quick question: ever heard of only using 6% malted barley to convert a mash? Ever to 20%? I guess you could you could use 6% if you wanted to back it up with some high temp alpha and something else. But maybe if you're using yellow label angel yeast, you can use it, and get by with just 6%. But based just simply on diastatic power, I don't see how that would work. Not having enough diastatic power to do the conversion. Thank you, Marie. You have a good evening yourself. Yeah, I wouldn't, most is based on diastatic power. And maybe next week or this Saturday, we'll talk about calculating that. It's pretty easy. Just remember 30 is a good number to remember. But yeah, there's a simple way to calculate it. And we'll talk about that. Uh, be a good topic to start out with on Saturday. Till then, you can brush up on your diastatic power so you can help. But it's pretty easy to convert. But yeah, I'd say with the yellow label, it's possible with the high temp alpha and gluco additions, you certainly can. But without anything additional like that, I don't know. I'd say you could, but you're not going to get full conversion, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I've seen 20 with 6 row, 25 with 2, right? Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're using that yellow label angel yeast or something. They're using some liquid enzymes to go along with it. Yeah, and maybe he said 16 or something. It's hard to say. What's going on, Grits? Yeah, I'd say it's easy to slip up and be thinking of something else. I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. I don't. I generally don't call anybody out like that. I'm not. No, it ends up just backfiring on you. It's best not to. Maybe pull them to the side and say something to them. In a private message or something like that, and say, I'm not going to call you out. I would never, or whatever. But I noticed you said this, and it's always been, maybe you can help me understand, but we've always done this, that, or something like that. All right. Just polished off some cherry moonshine and used the cherries for pineapple upside down cake. Awesome. Well, that sounds like a hell of an idea. Yeah, we used to, that fruit, man, it carries a lot of punch, a lot of flavor. It carries a lot of alcohol, man. That soaks them up. We used to make what we called a hunch punch. We'd mix, we'd get pineapples, bananas, cherries, all kinds of different fruits. We'd get fruit punches and pure grain moonshine, whatever liquor. Everybody just bring vodka, pure grain, whatever, and just dump it in the vat, and we'd mix it with some tropical punch or some Kool-Aid, a little of both, just much as we could, and make what we called hunch punch. And we just, and that fruit would soak up so much of that alcohol you wouldn't believe it. Bananas soak up a lot too. Yeah, they sure do. But yeah, that sounds great, man. That sounds awesome. Sounds like some cherry pie I could definitely get into, or upside down cake. And those pineapples, soak those in it too. Those pineapples they'll definitely soak it up. Yeah, that'd be interesting with the pineapples and cherries both soak them up because it's sweet and got that. Yeah, man, that'd be damn good. I like the thought of that. Definitely might have something there. Maybe you could make that and start selling it in the stores and stuff. Be better than a rum cake, right? They got rum cakes, Definitely. And maybe you could get a good rum to soak it in, make you a good rum and soak it in there and get that good rum flavor in your pineapples and cherries. That'd be pretty daggone good. Cause yeah, those that fruit soaks them up. It soaks up alcohol like you wouldn't believe. I was surprised how much it soaks up, especially bananas. I didn't think the bananas would be, very porous and would soak them up. Those bananas soak it up good. They might have been one of the most. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we expect to have different expectations, but yeah, I think of all the fruits that we put in that punch that daggone banana, man, it soaked up just as much or any, maybe a banana. Well, they make banana pudding. That'd be wild, but yeah, that'd be pretty good. Put some banana and some rum and let it soak up. That'd be pretty good. I when I make my rums, I use a dark brown sugar instead of a molasses. I mean, you can add molasses as well and give it even more of a grunge flavor. So if you've done just pure molasses, to me it's a bit much. I like it a little bit better, a little more refined with the dark brown sugar and some molasses, or just with dark brown sugar. But yeah, I've made lots of pineapple rums, banana rums with the dark brown sugar. It's excellent. Makes really good rum. Absolutely. And you could supplement it with white sugar if you wanted to. I just use, or the Morena sugar works out real well too. If you can get some of that cheap, it's a good clean sugar, and it's kind of a less refined than the white sugar, and contains some, yeah, yep, yep. It's just regular white sugar with molasses mixed in it. Yep, and the dark brown has a little bit more, so that's why I like the dark brown uh, sugar, and you can get it pretty inexpensively too. Just about just as cheap as sugar, and not have to deal with mixing it up and doing it all yourself. But yeah, I like the dark brown sugar with both pineapple and banana. Both make a real good rum. Actually, my root beer Shine has a banana rum base. It's really good stuff. Heck yeah. Yeah, my granny made some wine, and her family had a funeral home, and I'm pretty sure that they made a deal where they could swap some of these embalming jars. Have you ever seen these old embalming jars from the late 1800s and early 1900s? They look just like a big whiskey jar. I mean, bottle. And the embalming fluid came in these bottles, and I guess they embalmed people, and they back then you didn't throw jars and bottles away. It was expensive, and you reused them. So I'm pretty sure they swapped these jars for some shiners back in the day, or distillers back in the day, and got a little dual use out of them. Yeah, and what happened was when you make a banana rum, it has a grungy, it's rum, just because of the molasses gives it a unique, grungy, dark, good flavor. I mean, you say that and it sounds bad, but to me that's good, right? But it just starts that way, finishes that way, and it was that way throughout it, and it just didn't have any dividing character about it. So I was going to do some peanut butter with it, and kind of have a little peanut butter and banana rum, dark grunge. And they said that that powdered peanut butter can sometimes make things bitter if you're not real careful with it when you're distilling. So I didn't want to ruin this rum because it was really good, and but I wanted to enhance it, so I decided to infuse the root beer, and I'm really glad that I did because it paired up so well with that. And I mean, it's not a strong banana flavor at all, but it just has that grunge that you get with a lot of the molasses from the rum, and that root beer flavor, and it just gives it such an extra dimension. That darkness and that grunge gave that root beer just an extra dimension to it that just made it was dynamite, man. It was awesome. But yeah, yeah, definitely love using brown sugars with my rums, and mixed with fruits, and making some interesting fruit rums. Absolutely. And sassafras is good stuff. Yeah, I posted an article to my Facebook page not too long ago about sassafras, and how at one point in time they made it illegal, and now it's kind of coming back. And there were some questions about saffrole and whether it really that toxic, and a lot of discussions about that. And my grandparents and everybody, they used to use sassafras all the time, and for a cure, it was a holistic medicine, it was a cure. So, but there's also some science studies being done about be able to do something with that, and help with cancer. Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thank you. Thank you. I hope I get to feeling better too, but I hope Miss Ann feels better. She feels a lot worse than I do, man. She's been coughing up a storm, so hopefully she'll get some relief. If I could take it from her, I would. I'm fixed to go try. But yeah, hopefully she'll get to feeling better soon. But I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll be back Saturday night, of course, 8 Eastern. So everybody have a great week. We will see you then. Until then, shine on, peace out. Love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Saturday.